Marie hears loud growling coming from beside her. Looking over her shoulder, she sees a hulking wolfman the size of a grizzly bear with jet black, shaggy fur, pointed ears, and amber eyes.
Dogman, the canine cryptid we've all come to know and fear. Hey everyone, welcome back to another Midnight Lycanthropy. I'm one of your hosts, Brooke. Kenny will be here shortly. Tonight, we're going to be discussing dogmen in France. And yes, medieval France. Now, without further ado, sit back, get cozy, while Kenny and I delve into some midnight lycanthropy.
Did you see the size of them paw prints?
He was in the graveyard saying some strange chant.
Oh, hell no.
She said the creature kept trying to open her bedroom window.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another Midnight Lycanthropy. I'm one of your hosts, Brooke, and this is your other host, Kenny. Hey, Kenny!
Why, hello, my friend. How goes it? How goes the battle today?
Oh yeah, we're good. The battle is good.
Excellent.
The battle of life.
Yes, facts right there, eh?
Yeah. How are you doing today, friend?
Not too bad. Just like I was mentioning, grinding away. Finally getting caught up on the images, so I should be able to work on some more videos.
Kenny today's got some stories from France. We all hear about the werewolf in France, but let's talk about dogman in France today, Kenny.
Yeah, sounds good. So France is actually where my father's father and the majority of my family actually came from. So I have a lot of roots out that way. So yeah, I always like to kind of kid around when people ask when I was born. I told them, usually around 1442 France, somewhere out in the countryside.
Because you're a vampire, right? Yeah.
This is facts, So I've had
it
my
only
journeys.
makes sense.
Yes. So when it comes to the dogman in Europe, Europe's a little bit older. Actually, I should say a lot older than a majority of the world when it comes to like being colonized. Same thing with like Asia. So they have like a lot of history where the rest of the world that might be a little bit newer doesn't have as much backdrop. So when you look at werewolves and dogman history, I mean, it really does kind of originate over in the European cultures just because Europe was around before we were. So if you look back like during the medieval times and even previous further back than that, they have records of those things like we spoke about before, the Greeks, and in those areas with the cynocephaly. Yeah, so it's just an older region, so it's really got that just a little bit more of a vibrant historical aspect. So the majority, and you know, kind of how I feel about like I think werewolves traditionally are more like the skinwalker aspect. So if you ever hear, where people think that they saw things like shape shifting and or wearing, like wolf's fur, or putting on like a wolf ointment and things like that, that would be the classification for me as, like I said, kind of like the darker arts, like the skinwalker aspects, and then they still also have their traditional dogman type interactions as well, where they don't change back and forth. So same thing with like what we have here for history on that. They have a very similar aspect on it as well. But I mean, as I had previously mentioned, things such as silver bullets and full moons and things like that, that's more of like a Hollywood aspect. When you dig back into history and stuff like that, it never mentions anything about needing like a silver bullet to kill them, or that they transform just on full moons or stuff like that. So that's more of like the twist of adding entertainment aspects. But what do I think? I think I got like 4 or 5 pretty interesting stories right here for us. So we will start, I think I have them in chronological order here. So we are going to start in 1598, and I do apologize if I botch any of these terminologies, even though I am French. All right, so 1598, Juan Les Pines, the Alps in France. A young boy and girl are playing near a remote village in the forest. Suddenly, a massive human-like wolf jumps over the nearby brush, killing the young girl instantly and beginning to drag her away. As the
Ooh.
creature lunges next at the boy, he pulls out his pocket knife for protection, which was a very small knife, but he was able to stab the creature numerous times in the ear and neck area,
Ooh.
which made it quickly distinguish the boy as not being potential prey. And hearing the loud howling and screaming, a group of hunters who witnessed the encounter unfolding come running over, firing their rifles at the strange wolf man, causing it to run off on two legs into the forest. Unfortunately, the two children were unable to be saved.
Hmm. Oh my goodness, that is awful. I
And
hate to
that's what I'm
hear
saying.
that.
That's 1598. So that's like
Dang, that is
that's
ancient.
That's what I'm saying. That's definitely a minute ago. And then next we have 1658, Western France. An archer and a small group of men stumble upon the nude and terribly mutilated corpse of a 15-year-old boy. The nerves of the little boy were still twitching, meaning that he had probably just recently been disposed of, causing his limbs to flinch. Raising the bow, the archer advances forward, coming upon a dense patch of brush. As he approaches, two enormous jet black wolves dart out of the brush, exploding past the archer and men, knocking them over before disappearing into the forest.
Whoa, that is crazy. And you said that happened in 1650. These are old. Where did you like find these?
So
Um,
if Yeah, it all takes time. You just got to read through news articles. You have to read
mhm.
through manuscripts. You have to just kind of track down names of families that lived in the area and then start kind of tracking and digging back through that. And then you can find, once you figure out who it was and things like that, you can find their manuscripts or local villagers speaking about it and stuff.
Whoa, that is so cool. I just want to like give you like a super big shout out right now. Like how good of a researcher you are. I
Wow,
mean,
kind words,
like
my
that
friend. I appreciate that.
you are amazing. I mean, like finding these stories back all the way back in the 1500s. I mean, that's medieval. I mean,
Yes,
we're going medieval here.
and that's what's super important too. I mean, some of the obviously the newer encounters and things are really important, but now
Mhm.
with hoaxing and things like that, not saying an
Mhm.
older account is more credible, but back then hoaxing, like you had nothing to gain from that. So like for example,
True.
that
Yeah.
archer, so the archer goes back to town. He doesn't find the boy alive, so he's not getting money for that. And now he goes back to
Right.
the town and tells them that two enormous human-like wolves jetted by him. So he's not going to be getting gold for that either.
No, he's going to
Now
be
the
called crazy.
well, that's what I'm saying. So what would be the purpose for any of that to have been prefabricated back then? Like, if anything, like you said, now he's looked upon as like a basically the village idiot. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that is
So
very true. I mean, but you know, we back in that time as well. I mean, they believed in witches and stuff like. I
yes,
mean, not saying
yes.
they weren't real,
No,
but like,
and that's the other side of the realm of the lack of comprehension of things. So even though we're a dogman group here, like real quick, recently people thought they were seeing a sea monster, but it was a piece of a boat, like the side kind of plastic
mhm,
part, and the way it like was rising up out of the water, it looked like it could have been the head of something. But
yeah,
when people got closer to it, they could tell it was a piece of plastic, and it was literally
mhm,
something that would fit onto the side of a boat and stuff. So yeah, no, and that's what I try to do when I approach and differentiate stuff and try to read through it. Is always understand that that's just human nature. When we don't understand something, we try to piece it together into our mind to
mhm.
make sense. So yeah, of course, like during those
True,
times when it was dark outside, I mean, people were like, "Oh my goodness, it's the end of the world." So yeah, you got to
true.
well, I mean, like again, like we're a dogman group, but look at the Aztecs, correct? Right. So the Aztecs, super advanced civilization, but they felt the need to always be doing human sacrifices for like the sun to
Right.
rise. So
Yeah.
here's a super advanced race of individuals, but they couldn't even see if the sun would rise the next morning because they were so superstitiously entwined to think that it couldn't if they didn't do that. So yeah, no, you definitely tackle a very good point on that.
Yeah, it goes both way with humanity. I mean, you got to think like, okay, why would this man make this up if he's like actually like on an errand to go find this person, this boy?
Yes. Yes.
Why in the world would he say, no, like, I'd love to be go like take a time machine, go back in time and interview these people and be like, well, are you, like, are you sure this is what you saw? Like, do you think
Exactly.
it was just
Yes.
a
Yes.
dirty man or like two
No,
men?
100%, which is always kind of, I guess, the missing part of not being able to do that. But there's always enough, like I said, if people dig deep enough, there's things to kind of tie it back together. So, for example, we can talk about this more, but Boggy Creek, like the Beast of Boggy Creek,
Hmm.
a lot of people potentially were thinking it was like a Sasquatch, but no one, if you go back and read the historical documents, no one says anything about a Sasquatch. They just say a large black figure. And
Hmm.
one of the guys, his wife, the thing reaches in the house and tries to pull her out. And when he comes home, he stands outside smoking a cigarette, trying to see what's going on. And this thing rips him off the porch, slams him down to the ground, and tries to pull him away. That's like
Yeah.
all dogman activity. Like that's
Hmm.
like things that dogmen do. So when you start like reading through those reports and stuff like that, again, you never see anything definitively suggesting it's a Sasquatch. And then I start looking at the behavior, and that behavior marks in and ties up with all these other behavioral aspects of dogmen in different areas. So I would potentially advise people to try to look at some of the cases that are being, I think, mixed in with each other just off of like behavioral aspects.
Definitely. Yeah, because it seems like they all coexist. Like people
Yes.
seeing the same German headed
Hmm.
dog men and like others seeing the hyena in the same
Yes.
group.
Yep.
Yeah, it can't just all be, well, coincidence. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
No,
Like some of
definitely
them's
can't
got to
be.
be real.
1,000%. So, all right, I got some more crazy ones for you here. So let's dive
Heck
into
yeah.
1764 through 1767, Lorez Magarad Mountains, south central France. An array of violent and savage animal attacks on locals begin within a 50-mile radius. The creature is described as an enormous, russet color, shaggy, bipedal, overgrown walking hyena with a long tail, reportedly being larger than a cow on all fours and having large claws and teeth with bright red eyes. The creature has been dubbed the Beast of Guavedon. There was an estimated 210 attacks, 113 deaths, and 49 traumatic injuries. 98% of the dead victims were ripped to pieces and thrown everywhere. Some were eaten, usually having their throats clawed out or their head completely ripped off. The pieces that had not been eaten would always be thrown around as if something was trying to mark his territory. The killing
Ooh,
suddenly stopped and the creature was never caught. Fast forward to modern times, and the reports of the beast in France continue.
dang! And there goes that hyena.
Yep. A lot of people don't actually realize that there were European and American, North American hyenas at one point in time. Um,
Really?
yeah, which is pretty interesting as well. So, yeah, it's just a little food for thought right there. But I mean, again, like hyenas can't walk upright. So when people are seeing these things
Mm-hmm.
walking upright, but there was at a point in time, a North American and European, basically a hyena breed.
Well, that is crazy. That's the first time I ever heard of that. But them hyena ones, you don't mess around with them. I mean, don't mess around with no dog, man. But like,
So you know
for
what's
some
funny too
reason,
about hyenas? Hyenas are
mhm.
actually more closely related to large cats than they are dogs.
Wow, that is interesting as well.
Yes, which could also kick into some of the click-a-tat, ape-cat
Mm.
type of scenarios and things like that. Because if you look at like the DNA splicing, it's kind of like bears and canines are very closely related to each other as well. They split off. I can't remember the exact time frame and the evolutionary aspects, but yeah, same thing with, like I said, hyenas and stuff like that. They actually are more related to cats than they are like large dogs and stuff.
Wow, like I'm learning a bunch of facts today. Kenny's just throwing out the facts. Like, heck yes, I did. I would have never ever guessed that a hyena was more closely related to felines.
Yeah, check it out sometime. It's like a super weird thing. They're like
Hmm.
they're not either or, but they fall into the category of like the tweener, and it's it's just really, really strange. So it's a gift and a curse, which is why I started writing the book and stuff. Is my brain, I have so much information in there, but sometimes it will potentially get some things not forgotten, but that won't be on the top of my brain when I'm thinking about stuff to speak
You gotta
about it.
write it down. Yeah.
That's why I started putting it all into the books and stuff, so that way when you wanted to speak about like a certain section or things like that, I can scan back through it and like actually put the thoughts that I want to speak about back onto the front part of my brain.
Man, that is crazy. Like, it makes you think. I mean, well, I mean, we're human and we all look different. Like, there's all kinds of different,
Of course, of
types of
course.
humans. So, why can't this just be one creature, quote unquote, dog man? But it can look like cats, hyenas.
Of
Like,
course. Well,
I
I mean, look at
honestly believe
bears.
that.
Yeah, I mean, look at bears and things like that. They're all
Hmm.
related, but I mean, recently they've gotten some species of they're like hybrids, grizzly bears and polar bears that actually mated with each other. So I mean, yeah, it's no different. A lot of people say I believe the red wolf is actually a hybrid of coyotes and the gray wolf.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, and same thing with like coy dogs. Like coy dogs are hybrids between like domesticated dogs potentially, or and like hyenas. I mean, not hyenas, sorry, coyotes. And then same thing with like sometimes wolves have mated with the coyotes and things like that. So yeah, I mean, it's a very plausible aspect for sure. So
That's awesome.
there are
I'm hate.
two newer ones. So man, this is a tough one. 2018, Ardèche, France. There we go. Local resident
Okay.
Marie is walking her dog in the forest near her house. As they are almost out of the forest and back home, Marie hears loud growling coming from beside her. Looking over her shoulder, she sees a hulking wolfman the size of a grizzly bear with jet black, shaggy fur, pointed ears, and amber eyes, 30 or maybe 40 yards away, aggressively showing its dominance. Mortified, the woman grabs her dog and runs home to the soundtrack of the strange creature howling and barking in the background.
Oh my gosh, bro. And you said that was 2018? So
Yep.
that's
And
very recent.
yep. And then this is the most recent one I have right here. 2019, Chalet, Savoie, France. A man named Jean is driving through the mountains late at night when he sees a 7 to 9 foot tall bipedal, dark black, shaggy, human like wolf creature with glowing red eyes standing on the side of the road, looking at him as he approaches, almost seemingly trying to wave the man down to stop. The man looks over and realizes what it is he's looking at and proceeds to speed by the animal as it lunges at his car and then walks across the road off into the forest.
Oh hell no with that. Like him lunging out at that car, I'd be like, nope, driving right on past. He was trying to wave him down, bro.
That's actually,
No.
man, I have no lie, probably 15 to 20 different cases across the world, probably at least 10 in the United States, about people saying that they swear that these dogmen are like trying to wave them down as if they think that we don't know what it is that they're doing, and that they'll lunge at the car. Like one couple said, like it tried to open their door, and then as they were speeding off, it actually held onto the door and pulled itself up onto like its hood, on the hood of the car they were driving, and
Oh
began like
man.
smashing in their hood and also their windshield. But then another car was coming head on, and they were swerving because obviously like their windshield was smashed in, and when they were swerving, they said the creature lost its grip and it rolled across the road. And at the local gas station, they called the police, and their car was completely destroyed. I mean,
Oof.
like I guess you can't necessarily verify what destroyed it because I wasn't there, but yeah, no, there's a ton of those type cases.
Oh my gosh. And they hate cars too. They're like, don't get in that damn car. Like how do you know I'm not gonna come over here to be saying come here? Like you come here. No, no, don't come here.
Right.
Actually, don't do that.
That's what I always try to tell people, is that if just think with any sort of animal that has really heightened instincts. I mean, look at like say like a tiger, try to shine a flashlight in its eyes, it's going to be pissed off.
Oh hell yeah.
A grizzly bear, blast a big horn in its face, it's going to be pissed off. Spray some pepper spray or bear spray in any of those animals' faces, like a wolf or something like that.
Mhm.
So those are definitely things I always try to tell people, that there are ways to protect yourself. I mean, just think you and I, someone's shining a flashlight in our eyes, and humans don't really have the best eyesight compared to potentially other things that are nocturnal. So, I mean, I would just always tell people, just make sure you have some bear spray on you. You have a really loud air
Mhm.
horn or like a dog whistle. and just bright lights. But at the end of the day, I mean, if something like that wants to get you, it's gonna get you. But there are definitely ways to
Mm.
discourage that. I mean, there's people that have said that they try to stay on the distance of the fire. They can see them just enough, but they don't light the fire up on their face and stuff like
Interesting.
that. So, yeah.
Yeah, get that big old bonfire going if you're
Well, I
camping.
mean,
Seriously.
there's like so a lot of people think originally used to think that fire would scare away animals, but there's also a lot of other people that think that fire might draw them in just because of bright lights and interested as to what is occurring, but also it's been installed into things like wolves and stuff now, just from historical aspects, that fire means man is around, which means food is around, or
Oof.
I should say humans are around. I mean, that's how wolves got friendly with us. They sat right around the
True.
fire just outside of attacking us, and sat there and waited for the scraps that we would throw to them, and then eventually we domesticated them. So yeah, I definitely think there's some sort of both sides to that, that the fire kind of potentially draws them in a little bit.
That is true. I've heard, like, I know we don't talk about Bigfoot a lot, but I have heard about the fires drawn in, like, the Bigfoot
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
people and,
Well, anything
uh,
that's remotely intelligent is gonna see that and be like, what is that? So I actually have a theory that I wanted to tell you a while ago before I forget too. Like when some people
nice.
have said with UFO activity that they've seen dogmen and Bigfoot around the area. And I have a
Mhm.
theory that just like us, if they saw something shiny and bright up in the sky, they're going to be interested as to what it is. So if you've, in that area, you happen to see them and a potential UFO activity, I think they're just as interested as we are as to be like, hey,
Yeah,
what are these lights in the sky? Like, what the hell is this?
definitely.
And
Definitely would be curious. Like, and you're
yes,
living out in the woods too. Like, you're like,
yes.
what in the heck is those
It is
lights?
that,
Like,
just like with us. Yeah.
definitely.
So I actually have that. That's one of the theories I've kind of been working on, because any sort of intellectual animal, if you look at like orcas and things like that, if you put like scientists have put mirrors and things down in the water, and the orcas like play with it, they wave to themselves and
Oh,
things like that. So the animals are, especially ones that are more intellectually advanced, definitely process stuff. So yeah, I do think
that's
that
a
they
good
are.
theory. That's a
Yeah.
really good theory. I dig it. I can totally see that. Like, I mean, that's totally understandable.
Yeah, no, so I appreciate that. I've been trying to just kind of, like I said, just when I do kind of come up with things like that, I sit back and I try to just filter through the encounters and what people say and things like that. And I try to, just kind of paint like my own theory a little bit. Like I know, for example, David Politis in the Missing 411, he never
Mhm.
comes out and says what it is that's taking people, but I think it's dogmen. And when I go into some of the cases he's covered, like I said, they match all up into areas that people are going missing with dogmen. And like recently, that woman in California that went missing, and they found her literally in an area she was like a 22-year-old, and they found her in the middle of an area that was almost impossible to get to. Like their
Mhm.
drones saw her there. And her body was all mangled up. And I mean, they're trying to say floods pushed her down there, but I feel like
Mm.
that's just their way of trying to push the story under the rug a little bit. But yeah,
Yeah,
no,
probably.
she went missing right in Dogman hotspot territory.
Wow. Wow. Or I mean, shoot, I mean, if they're seeing Dogman around these areas, what if it's like aliens taking these people too? I mean, like that's would have been my theory for a long
Yeah, no,
time.
I
But
mean,
Dogman makes sense as well,
it,
especially with the Dogman territories that they go missing in.
no, 100%. Have you ever heard? I actually have another theory I've been meaning to tell you too. Have you ever heard of the four boys that went missing in California?
Mm-mm.
It's called, okay, missing for. There's a terminology for it. The people that are missing. So, long
Oh
story
gosh.
short, is what happened is these men were not. They were considered to be not. All right. So back then, because it was in like the 80s and people didn't really have a good grasp on things, and they used to Yuba County 5. There we go.
Okay.
Bill Sterling 29, Jack Hewitt 24, Ted Weir 32, and Jack Mandragra 30. So one of them worked on his car all the time and basically was kind of like a mechanic and things like that. So some of the people in the town said they were a little bit slower, but I mean, these kids and dudes could drive and they went to basketball games with each other. I just think it was just people potentially just being dinks back then. But
Mm-hmm.
so they went to a basketball game and literally it was a straight shot to where they needed to go. They were seen at a store getting candy and stuff like that. And then all they had to do was go straight back to go back home. But
Mm-hmm.
as they were going straight back, something or someone forced them to take a turn up towards the mountains. Instead of going straight, they took a left and they ended up getting found their car in an area where it was kind of stuck a little bit in the snow, but it could have been pushed out. And it looked like something had scared the shit out of these kids that they just jumped out of the car. And they ended up finding the bodies like throughout the forest, kind of all like just mangled up. But one was found in like an old abandoned like house with his feet severely frostbitten.
Oh
And
my.
again, I have a theory of I think what if they are driving back, they see a dog man standing in the middle of the road, which dog men do. It
Mm-hmm.
scares them. They swerve and they go in the direction of the mountains up that way to the left, which the dog man could have been standing in the road purposely to force them in that direction. They go up there, they
Mm-hmm.
get stuck in the snow. Obviously, the dog man's probably terrifying them, trying to get into the
Yeah.
car, and they just get out and run. I don't know what else would have caused them to not even try to push the car out, just get out of the car, leave all the doors open and stuff, and just run. It's
Yeah,
just
that sounds weird, boy. Like they sounded scared. I mean,
well,
like
that's what I'm saying. There's something forced them. I mean, these kids made this trip all the time. It was a straight shot. Like literally, something had to have been standing in the middle of the road, forcing them to take. There's only two ways it could have went: straight or that left turn that led them up to the mountains. They went left. There's just no.
uh,
They didn't do drugs. They didn't drink. There's just no way that they would just decided to go up that way and then get out of the car and run through the forest because the guy that owned the car loved his car and it was like his
yeah.
prized possession and his family said there's no way he would have just left it up there with the windows down and all this stuff.
Wow, that is very interesting.
All right, everybody, we do appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with us in Midnight Lycanthropy. I hope we did provide some pretty beneficial information for you. As always, the support is very much appreciated, and please do like, subscribe, and share both of our content. Make sure to pop over to Brookestirr's page and then also my page, Star Fox Media. We are trying to put out information back and forth that will keep viewers very intrigued as to what we are doing. And as always, this is your favorite vampire from the North American Dogman Project. I will see you very soon. And the next video I will be putting out, besides our podcast, is a trip to Romania.
Awesome. Thanks for stopping by, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Well, everyone, what did you think of tonight's episode? Let us know in the comments below. Have you ever seen a dogman or a cryptid? We would like to share your story. Email us, Wolfpack. Thank you for stopping by and giving this a watch. I do hope you like these visual podcasts. And until next time, guys, bye.